The Walking Dead. Daryl Dixon, production designer on Post-Apocalyptic Paris. The Walking Dead. Daryl Dixon proves that there is life left in the world of The Walking Dead. The 6-episode series may revolve around Norman Reedus' fan-favorite character, but just as exciting is how unfamiliar the rest of it is, outside of some obvious The Last of Us similarities. The Walking Dead. Daryl Dixon takes The Walking Dead across the Atlantic to France, expands the known mythology of the Walker-filled world, and more. France is a character all its own in The Walking Dead. Daryl Dixon, with iconic landmarks often taking center stage and the French language spoken in nearly every scene. It's authentic to boot, with much of the filmmaking team and cast native to France, or a resident of the country. One such team member is production designer Clovis Weil, who was instrumental in creating the familiar yet new look of The Walking Dead. Daryl Dixon. Clovis Weil spoke with Screen Rant about bringing The Walking Dead to France, the challenges of filming in Paris, and more. Note: this interview was conducted during the 2023 WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes, and the show covered here would not exist without the labor of the writers and actors in both unions. Clovis Weil on The Walking Dead. Daryl Dixon, Screen Rant. When you signed on to do this, what did you want to take from the flagship show in terms of production design, and where did you want to expand now that we're in France? Clovis Weil. Well, to be honest, I didn't want to take too much of the 11 previous seasons of The Walking Dead. Some things are a bit like cliches of the post-apocalyptic universe. Vegetation that has gone wild everywhere, the decay, and the destruction. It makes sense, and it's kind of the base of the elements we're going to play with. But the idea was to be different somehow, and the production didn't want to do the same thing, just in France. They wanted to use France, first of all. That's the first reason why they came here. They wanted to have some iconic French scenery, towns, and places. Then, I had permission to play with it to make it apocalyptic, and, actually, it's really fun to do. Most of the production designers I've spoken with in the past have been on shows like Star Wars, where you're working a lot on very contained sets, and I imagine you're doing a lot of location work on this show. How does it work when you have to transform a real place into a post-apocalyptic one? Clovis Weil. One of the difficult parts is that we don't have much time on each side, usually, and we need to be able to get out of the site at the end of the shoot and leave it as it was before. We go on site, we think of everything we want to do, we take over measurements, and then we work things up 200 kilometers away from that. For instance, the beginning of the show is in Montpellier, which is near Marseille in the south of France. We went there a few times, but most of it was built in Paris in our studio. Then, we had a full load of trucks going down there for days just to bring up everything. We have many modular elements and ways to mess up facades, and we have many ways to decorate the walls of the buildings to age them temporarily. We brought boats, sunken boats, for that little harbor. We have painters that go wild, but we still have the same restraints that 2 days away from the shooting, everything needs to be absolutely neat. So there's the creative part and there's the technical part, and both are very linked because we need to be able to be very quick, very fast, and irreproachable when we leave.